Oh, shit. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I was panicking because I only saw a portion of your name, Jerry. I was like, oh no!
Oh
I
man.
just added the wrong person. And then I'm like, oh, wait, nope. It was the right
Man.
one. Yeah, no offense. I affectionately call you JB Mars because Jerry Bartholomew is a mouthful.
People call me all kinds of things, so
I was to say it's like a son-in-law. Damn it! What's that kid's name? I don't know. Sometimes he responds to asshole.
yeah. Ironically enough, when with my first marriage, uh, her uncle wouldn't call me by my name until we were married because he's like, boyfriends come and go, so I'm not calling you by your real name. And I was like, okay. And he was calling me like Jerome, Jeremy, Jackass, all kinds of different things. And then when we got married, he's like, welcome to the family, Jerry. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we got divorced, and he's like, damn it. It's like, nothing I can do. So,
How was the bowling, Cobe?
It was alright. I was throwing on Scorpion.
Dude, I love Scorpion. I match up so good on Scorpion. I throw my house shot on Scorpion and it carries.
yeah. Scorpion for me
Makes
is
sense.
usually a good one. It's all the short patterns that aren't the good ones for me. I'm not very good with short because I can't throw urethane. And I shouldn't say that. I could throw urethane. I can't get it to strike.
I was gonna say,
Awesome. Thank you,
urethane
Rowan.
typically leaves you in corner pin hell.
Um, I've drilled probably in the last 5 years. I've probably drilled about 15 or 16 urethane balls. And they all do the same thing. They hit the pocket and then run the 9-pin over, and the 10-pin just laughs at me. So,
Yep. Actually, no. Surprisingly, not urethane was not really a big play at nationals this year.
nope, was not. Well, I shouldn't say that. For our team, Tyler Cornell threw it. He's usually really good with urethane. He knows how to control it. He knows when to get out of it. In practice, he just had an insane look. So we were like, stick with it until you don't have a look. And he shot 248 with it. And then the second game, he started out front five. And then all of a sudden, it was like a light switch, sixth frame. It just completely went away. So by the eighth frame,
yeah.
he was out of it. And I think he went to the IQAI and stuck with that the rest of the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're there with Joel, so everybody's got an IQAI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do.
All right, so everybody, welcome to Bowlers Helping Bowlers. Behind the scenes, we had a little bit of a what was going to be a nightmare, but luckily my kid got his baseball days mixed up, and his game's tomorrow, so we're on the couch like we should be. But anyway, our guest this week is JB Mars, Jerry Bartholomew Mars, and we're going to start with the carbon copy questions. What got you into bowling? How long have you been bowling? And what are your ultimate goals in bowling?
I've been in bowling pretty much all my life, ever since I was an infant. My grandmother ran a bowling center slash bar slash banquet hall slash restaurant. It was a little 12-lane center called Massey's in West Dundee, Illinois. It's about 45 minutes northwest of Chicago. I didn't go to daycare. I basically went there every day. I'd get out of kindergarten at like noon, and my mom would pick me up, and then they would lock me in the bowling center and tell me, when you're hungry, pick up the phone and dial 0, and we'll come bring you food. And I'm like, okay, and the mechanics would be there, and they'd be working on pin setters, so I'd be underneath the pin setter with them. I just watched bowling on Saturday afternoons on ABC, and just wanted to be a professional bowler and be all about it, and wanted to learn everything about the business and everything that bowling had to offer, and here I am.
Yeah, it's good to know that I'm not the only one that was raised by a 2-lane babysitter.
Yep. Yeah. The funny thing was, the bowling center that I grew up in, Massey's, had above ground ball returns. And
I miss those. I miss those so much.
At the age of 7 years old, the mechanics would literally teach me to stand on the ball returns and put my foot up in the air to stop the ball halfway down the lane, and then they tell me to stand on the lane halfway down and just throw the ball down the lane. And so I did that. We have some above ground centers here. They do have some tournaments there once in a while. We've got T-Bird in Rochelle. There's another one in Sandwich, Illinois, all about an hour and 15, 20 minutes away. We also have one in Woodstock, Illinois. It's a little 8-lane center. That was a COVID saver for us. But I think that's about it. That's all we have nowadays out here.
What's up, Leprechaun? Appreciate the gifts, buddy. Hold on. Lil Try, appreciate the gift and the follow. Sorry, just doing a little bit of maintenance.
No problem.
But dude, I didn't realize you were that close. I'm in St. Louis. We could easily find like a halfway place to go shoot together.
No need to, because I'll be in St. Louis July 11th through the 13th for the regional at St. Charles Lanes.
Dude, that's
So,
I bowl
I
at
was actually-
Plaza, which is right around the corner.
Yeah,
I was actually wanting to come out for
probably
the Southside
Stone Throw.
Doubles.
Dude,
I wanted
yeah,
to come out.
heck yeah,
I
I'll
wanted to
come
come out for
and
the
watch you
Southside
throw it.
Doubles, and I just couldn't make it happen. We had some plans with some family, and then I ended up getting sick this weekend, and couldn't make it out to the family's house. So we just stayed home yesterday and did some cleaning around the house, did some errands, got myself a new grill. So,
Hey, that always helps.
oh yeah,
I mean, if you're not feeling well, get yourself a new grill.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes you feel. I got a sickness. Oh yeah, what's the cure for the sickness? A new trigger?
Usually it's new bowling balls or something, but I've just had
I
two
mean,
delivered
it's up
today.
there.
So
Yeah.
But no, if you watched any of me and Big Josh bowling at the South Side, it did not go very well for us. So
I went pretty well for Shea Bittenbender. So I mean,
yes, it did, and he was on the pair to my right, so I sat and watched that all set long.
yep, I can only
Shut
imagine.
up.
Shay's a really good dude. Him and I go way back.
And then Resnick goes 279, 279, 300, and doesn't even win.
Yeah. Tony's another one that's crazy. He's crazy out on the lanes. It's fun to watch those guys strike like crazy, like it is.
Oh, dude, I've been bowling with Resnick for years.
Yeah.
But I did win 50-50, so I still walked out with money in my pocket, so I was happy.
Hey, there you go. All right. At least you won something.
Yeah, my buddy's like, you realize it doesn't take any skill to win 50-50. I said, yeah, it's just dumbass luck.
Exactly. I don't have that kind of luck. So the only time I've won a 50-50 pot was when my daughter was like 7 or 8 years old. I was bowling league. And she came up to me and she goes, I need $5. And I'm like, for what? And she goes, I don't know. The guy over there selling tickets told me to give him $5 and he'd give me tickets. And I was like, what guy? And she pointed him out, and it was the guy selling 50-50. So I gave her the $5, and I'm like, we're not going to win. I'm like, it is what it is. And it was like $230. And they called our numbers, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. Look at that. That's pretty much the only time I've won a 50-50.
I was to say the only reason I got into the 50-50 because my son, my 16-year-old's autistic, and it went to Action Autism. So I was like,
Oh, okay.
cool. Didn't even think twice about it. And then I looked at my list of numbers, and I'm like, okay, 4-9 to 5-1 is mine. And then they get to 1-5. I'm like, oh, please be a 0 or a 1. And they went 0-3. I'm like, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, I don't have
usually-
much luck with raffles.
The only time I had luck in bowling alley, English is hard, bowling alley gambling was when I was little. I used to tear the crap out of pull tabs and win
Yeah.
tons of money off pull tabs.
My parents used to, when they brought me to watch some bowl leagues, excuse me, we used to play kids in Mortal Kombat for a quarter.
Nice.
And there was one night I walked out and I had like $15 in quarters in my pocket. And my mom's like, where'd you get all that? And I was like, playing video games. So then we went to Vegas
Oh.
and did the same thing out in Vegas. They brought me down to like the little game rooms and stuff and played people for quarters. And I walked out with more quarters. My mom just looked at me. She goes, you're horrible. I was like, what do you want me to do? I'm in Vegas. I'm like 14, 15 years old.
He's a quarter machine.
Exactly. Everybody's playing for quarters. So,
And yes, Butchie, words. Steve, words.
Yes. Be a podcaster and barely be able to speak English. It's fun.
yeah. Well, try being a tournament director, trying to make announcements and forgetting what you're saying.
Don't put that on me, Jerry. because
had that
I'm gonna
happen to me
be
2
I'm gonna be
weeks
the
ago.
TD for the TikTok takeover, and I'm gonna have nightmares about that all the way leading up to it.
Yeah, I had that happen to me 2 weeks ago. I was making announcements and I was announcing the tournaments that were coming up, and all of a sudden I stopped and everybody looked at me and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I forgot what I was saying." It's like literally forgot.
Bro, we do conference calls, and mid sentence, I'll be like, "Oh, bro, I don't even know where I was going with that." So, I get it.
My wife likes to call me a grumpy old man, so she's like, "It's your old age that's getting to you." Like, yeah,
Did it hit at 40?
it hit about 40. I'm 47 now.
Yeah, I was saying.
I was saying Cobra loves calling it.
We're the same age.
Yeah.
Cobra loves calling it our sometimers.
Yeah, I'm 47. I'm approaching that senior tour age. Wanting to hit some of those stops when that happens. So we'll see what happens.
Thanks for reminding me.
God,
I get reminded
it's
all
hard
the
to believe
time.
I'm the youngest one here.
I don't look 47 though. There's a lot of people that come up to me.
Minus the gray. I get you.
I had a guy come up to me and he was like, how old are you? And I was like, 47. He's like, ain't no way. And his buddy's like, dude, I thought you were like 35. I'm like, I love you. I love you. 2 heart attacks would do that to you though.
But
I'm glad you
like,
made it through those.
we started doing this, and they're
me
like, "Wait,
too.
you're younger than both of us?" I'm like, "Shut up! I know I look like I'm 50." Okay.
Yeah. 2 heart attacks.
looks
make
aren't
you
everything,
younger
bud.
than what you are.
Hey, we've got a face made for radio, and we do a video podcast. Go figure.
There you go. Try to make it in the
Yeah.
best of all worlds.
I
Right.
had to fight with the green screen because it kept blurting out my ugliness.
I will say that black silhouette that you had when you first got on did look pretty killer. It was kind of hard to see you, but when you saw you, it looked sick. Just FYI.
The sunken back.
Yeah, no, I had the light off.
Oh.
That's the only reason the wife took me is because it was in the dark.
Hey, Joel.
Hey! Some of the best things happen in the dark. Okay.
Going on, Joel.
Oh, I won't go there.
What's up, buddy? But yeah, growing up in a bowling house, you've got a unique perspective of one of our usual questions. Because I'm sure you've got plenty of examples, and I cannot wait to hear them. What is the weirdest or most unique thing you've ever seen in a bowling alley?
Punching bag on top of the ball return.
How does
I wish-
how does one get a punching bag in front of on a ball return?
It was one of those little punching bag things that attached to the ball return, and I said, whoever put that up there is a genius, because I don't know how many times I've seen people punch a ball return, and if that punching bag's there, I'm sure they just want to give it a good old whack. And
Was it like a speed bag, punching bag?
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
And then-
that is
and then-
so sweet.
then if you get some of the bowling centers that have the punching machines in there,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just genius. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that's genius. The only problem is somebody breaks their hand on it. It's like, okay, is the bowling center liable, or
Right, yeah, exactly.
you know?
No,
Yeah,
you need a
I
little
know
sign
what
that
you're-
says "punch at your own risk"
Yeah,
right above
yes.
it.
Yeah.
Boing.
Man, there's so many things that,
I don't think it'd be boing. It'd be like boing, boing, boing.
yeah. I'd be afraid that if somebody punched it too hard, it would like break off the ball return or something. But nobody really hit it when we were bowling. So
Oh, of course, because that when it's available, everybody's like, "Nah, I'm good."
yeah, nobody gets mad. They're just like, whatever.
That'd be the only way I strike. Knock it off the top and roll down the lane.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen a bowler punch himself in the face. And no, I'm not talking about Tom Hess. Tom's.
I was gonna say
really
we saw
good
that on
friend.
TV.
Like physical abuse to themselves.
Oh yes.
Yes, I've
I've
seen
seen-
it too. That's craziness.
And when somebody asked him, "Why are you punching yourself?" He goes, "It's either that or I'm gonna punch somebody else. And if I punch somebody else, I'm going to jail." And he goes, "If I punch myself, I'm not going to jail." And I'm like, "Good logic, very good logic." But now, how are you going to explain the black eye you gave yourself to your wife or your family?
What's up, Stephen Elder? How are you tonight?
What up, babe? My wife just got in. She's my mod. And one of Joel's favorite people because she has enough sass for everybody.
Yeah.
No, Joel, they have holy cheese for that.
I got a lot of stories with Joel.
I'm sure you do.
Meeting that
I was
man
gonna s-
was like, I met him, and I think it was like 2011. We were at the Masters of the Open out in Jersey, and me, my buddy Kevin, Brian Valena, we were all walking around the bowling center, and we saw the pro shop there. And Brian's like, "I want to introduce you guys to somebody." And we're like, "All right," So we go in there, and we meet Joel, and like instantly just kicked it off. We were like brothers.
856 years ago.
It feels like it, honestly. But that year, we got done with qualifying on Thursday, and our plan was just to come home after qualifying or when we were all done bowling. And I missed match play. I think it was by like 4 pins that year. Brian missed it. I want to say it was like by like 30 pins. And Kevin was in the cut going into the last day, and then he got on burn, and the pairs that he hit were just god awful. So we were going to go home on Friday, and Joel came over and was like, "You guys should stay." And I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "We hang out more and, be around more." And I'm like, "All right." And then Chuck Gardner came up and asked us if we wanted to do the clinic because they were hosting a youth clinic to help kids, and promote bowling and stuff like that. And at that time, I was trying to get on Deviate staff. And we just hanging out with Joel that whole week was just, you connected with somebody. If you know what I'm talking about, you meet like a new friend or something and you connect. And that's what we did. And when we left, he was like, "Do you seriously have to leave?" And I'm like, "Unfortunately, got to go home." And, we went to a restaurant that Saturday night for dinner, and he was like, he asked the waiter, he's like, "Hey, can you take a picture of me and my family?" And it was, I want to say it was probably about 14, 15 people there. And he looked at the guy and goes, "Can you take a picture?" And the waiter looks at him and goes, "Are you effing serious?" And he said the actual word. And Joel goes, "Do I look like I'm fucking joking?" And I was like, "Oh."
No, if you're gonna ask the question, yeah, I'm serious.
But the funny thing was, Valena looked at me, and then he looked at Joel, and he looked back at me, and he goes, "That's a Jerry answer." And I was like,
Dude,
and then we went back to Jersey the following year, and it was just, again, reconnect and hang out. And
I bowled with Valenta during his college days at Lindenwood. He spent a lot of 2 summers taking my money, but he did it in the nicest way possible.
yeah, he has that tendency of doing that. But ask him his record against me.
But we were running the same 9-pin no tap circuit because he would just clean up Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday at our 9-pin circuit.
Yeah.
And you just got so used to hearing Brian Valenta on 21, Brian Valenta on 15. I'm like, I know Brian didn't buy all these. Brian's got his group behind him going, "All right, you hit it. I'll give you half."
Yep. We did that we got kicked out of a league on Friday nights, actually. One and I did, because it was, so we were bowling at Suburbanite Bowl out in Westmont, Illinois. And he had asked me to bowl this league, and I was like, "Sure." I worked third shift at that time. So like literally got done bowling and just ran to work. And, so we were bowling a league out of a 7-point system per week, 35 weeks. We lost a total of 21 points.
Oh, Jesus.
All season. He averaged, I think it was like 252. I averaged 248. We had another guy, Brian Ducey, who does dog tags bowling. We asked him to sub because one of the guys got hurt. And Ducey was like, "I'm coming in with like a 170, 180 average bowler," because he wasn't, really into it. And he had just gotten in the area, and he was looking for places to bowl, and he saw that we bowled there. And his first night out, he shoots like 780. And I was like, "Brian," like, "Ducey, how are you saying you're averaging 170 when you just shot 780? And he was like, "I don't know, dude. I swear." And you look up in the USBC books, and every average he ever had was 170 or 180. And we were just like, "Well, here we go." So, but we would do that with 50-50. We'd walk in, or I'm sorry, not 50-50, the strike pot. We'd walk in and we'd wait until it gets to like $1,100, $1,200, and then we'd buy $100 in tickets, and then our number would get called, and all the guys were like, "This is bullshit. Can't believe they're letting you do that." Da, da, da. When we got money at the end of the season because we won the league, Brian went to go hand it, and the guy went to go hand him the envelopes, and as Brian went to go pull them away, the guy held on to him, looked at Brian, and goes, "We don't want you guys back next year. Don't come back." I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to find a new league to bowl on Saturdays.
But it was hilarious. In the 2 summers I bowled the 9-pin rotation with Brian. I don't think he actually spent $1 on tickets the entire time.
That's usually how it goes.
That's Brian.
He's like, I'm y'all's ringer. Just give me half the pot. We're good.
Yeah.
Kid love you, bye.
But yeah, and then it's
Hey,
at
Moby.
the end of the 9-pin, it's like your high qualifier with an 859 or an 875, Brian Valenta, and we're like, to the surprise of nobody.
Nope. No, he's actually he's doing pretty good. He's down in Florida now.
See, last I heard, he was up in your area.
No, he had a health scare about 2 years ago. Lost a bunch of weight. Moved down to Florida. His mom pretty much told me he was done truck driving. He wasn't driving like a semi or anything, but he was doing like a little box truck thing where he was driving all over the country.
Yeah.
And had a health scare, and his mom wanted him to move down to Florida and stay with her, and he got a job down there with FedEx, and he probably lost, I'd say, almost about 100 pounds.
Good for him, dude.
So
Good
he's put a little bit on right now, but he's getting back into it, and he's starting to bowl again and get out there and bowl. But Florida, there's not much to bowl unless it's handicapped and it's on a house shot. And
Yeah, that's not even a challenge for BV anymore.
no, he bowled with I think it was like Tyrus Page and Gerald Richardson, and they would go live on TikTok all the time, and we'd watch him bowl, and I'd give him crap while he was bowling.
But no, it was so funny because the people that know Brian know what tournament I'm going to talk about before I even talk about it. It's him bowling on the freaking Wolf and lofting the damn thing 40 feet.
Yeah.
You can do it. You do it.
Yeah, if you can loft it and you can get away with it, do it. Why not?
But it was funny because he barely beat step 1 of the step ladder. And he goes to his ball rep, and his ball rep's like, hell with it.
Maya.
Just loft it. And
Talking
we're
about
thinking,
the telecast, right?
yeah.
That wasn't the Wolf. I think that was Badger.
Oh, it was Badger. That's right.
Yeah.
That was Badger.
That was Badger. So the funny story about that, when he made the telecast, Rash called me up, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm working." And he goes, and mind you, this is like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, "I'm going to need you to leave work." He's like, "I'm going to need you to leave work." He goes, "I'm going to need you to go home, pack a bag for a couple of days." And he goes, "Go to the airport, get on a flight down here." And I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Brian made the telecast." I said, "Yeah, I know." And he goes, "If you knew how nervous he was right now," he goes, "Nobody's calming him down." He goes, "And we're thinking the only way that it's going to happen is if you come down." And I was like, I wish I could. I can't, you know. And so they recorded the show. He kept me updated on what was going on. And when he come home, we went to a pizza place to watch it. And we're sitting there watching this on TV, and the waitress comes over, and she's like, "What can I get you to drink?" And Brian's like, "I'll have a water." And she was like, "Okay." And she looked at the TV, and she looked at him, and then she looked back at the TV, and she looked at him, and she goes, "How the hell are you up there and you're sitting right here?" And he was like, "That's recorded." She had no idea, and she was freaking out about it. She was like, "Oh my God." And then he ended up losing, and we were yelling and screaming, and we already knew the outcome of it, but we were yelling and screaming at the pizza place, and it was just a good time.
But yeah, it was just this weird surreal feeling turning on the telecast and going, I know that guy. I bowl with that guy.
Yeah. He's a good dude. He's always been there for me, so can't really say anything bad about him.
Someone want to
Joel's
answer
the
that
same way.
question?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jason.
How does one recover from losing in a match play from 1-7-10? Oh, from a 7-10 being picked up and they lose by 1. Oh God.
That sucks.
Hey, Britt.
All you gotta do is shake the person's hand and say congrats. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that's all I do.
you're going to be left speechless no matter what.
Right.
I was gonna say the only thing you can do is look at it and go, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yep.
Right.
And walk away.
Yep. That's pretty much how I would have handled it.
When they look at this box. Yes. Maybe get a McGriddle.
Oh
Yeah.
I know I've lost a couple matches to where I had like people not even hit the head pin and somehow strike.
But yeah, they
Yep.
say Brad and Kyle put St. Louis bowling on the map. For me, it was always
Right on,
BB.
Jason. Yeah, and then you always hear all these people talk about how Oscu and Belmo were the
That'd be
first
Josh.
ones to bowl on TV, and it's like, no, they weren't. It was Belmo, or it was Valeno.
It was
Valeno was the
BB.
first one. He was the first one on a collegiate telecast. They did a whole piece on it. You know, I remember him being like, "You think bowling two hands is a sissy thing? Why don't you come say I'm a sissy?" You know, and I laugh at that all the time because it's like, shut up.
It is. Yeah, I was gonna say it's so not him. It is so not him at all.
No.
But the funny thing is he had that half thumb drilled so freaking tight you could hear him jamming his thumb into that
God,
half
yeah.
thumb by like 3 pairs away.
Oh yeah. There was times where, like, when we bowl little tournaments out here, you could hear it. Like, I'd be standing on the lane next to him, and I can hear his thumb just going in and out of the ball.
Yeah, and that was the thing is they give credit to Smallwood for the half thumb. I'm like, no, that's a BB thing.
Yeah, yeah. BB didn't get credit for a lot of stuff, but he was good at what he did.
I was to say those who know. That's the important part.
Yep. So
Are you brand specific on what you throw? And what weight do you throw?
I'm actually sponsored by Storm.
Okay.
I just signed with them in January. I throw 15. I've had wrist injuries in the past, and I can't throw 16. I've tried, but I'll get like 2 or 3 games in, and then I'll start experiencing wrist pain.
Yeah.
We've tried different drillings with 16 and everything. It just doesn't work out for me. So 15 is what I throw. I throw Storm. I was with DV8 for 12 years. It was a great 12 years. They treated me very well. Can't say they didn't. I just had a time where it was time to go. It was time to experience something different and see what was out
Right.
there. So I threw everything for a year. And then beginning of January, I got a phone call from Andy Shutt, who's the regional sales manager out here, and said that they wanted to sign me. I'm really good friends with Chris Schlemmer, and he helped me out a lot with some stuff. They wanted to sign me before, but I was holding off because, you know, I wanted to experience what everything had. You know, I'm
Right.
friends with Spangler, and Brett helped me out a lot too. My buddy Joe Lickner, he's the brand representative for Illinois. He helped me out. So, I mean, I had a lot of guys help me out and letting me see what everybody had to offer. And Storm just came to me and gave me some stuff for my tournaments and gave me some credit for myself and said, "We want to sign you." And I got the contract the week before my mom passed away, but we didn't announce it until afterwards because with everything going on, it just didn't seem right to go and announce it and
Right.
let it go. But at one
Yeah,
point, I
yeah,
needed
yeah.
something happy in my life. I needed something positive because I was not doing well when my mom passed away.
Right.
So it was rough times, but you know, I had my wife there with me and my family with me, and we just figured it was time. I think it was like a week and a half after she had passed that we announced it.
Well, that's the common thing with bowlers. Like, this sport can be the most frustrating thing on God's green earth for people that do it competitively,
Yeah.
but it's also our therapy. It's always there for us when we need it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that always tell me, you know, they always ask me why I choose bowling. My answer has always been simple. It's never left me. I've been married. This is, you know, with my wife now. It's my third marriage, and I just never had something, you know, I've been passionate about more than anything than bowling. My grandmother is the reason why I got very passionate with it, because she was alive, uh, she was the coach for the youth bowlers out in this area. And on Saturday mornings, there was a 32 lane center that she worked at. It was used to be owned by Lori Nichols. Um, she ran the junior league there, and at the time it was 36 lanes. She had a full house at 8:30 in the morning, and then she had 3/4 full house at 12. And it was all these kids that just came over from all over the place and just wanted to bowl in her junior program. And when she was alive, she used to tell us the youth was the future of the sport. You can't ever forget the youth. And I think that's where bowling right now is struggling with it and trying to make a comeback, is because kids from like the early 90s didn't get to experience what we all got to experience.
Well, I think youth is starting to make its resurgence now,
I do too.
especially considering the junior golds are now televised. It gives a bunch of kids they're like, hey, this is where if I do well here, I could end up on TV, and that's just massive for especially that 13 to 18-year-old range.
Right. So like out in this area, youth programs, there's some centers that do really well. Poplar Creek Bowl, the place where I have most of my tournaments at, they have a Saturday morning program that's full house, and they do a great job with the kids. There's other centers that don't have them, that used to have them, that kind of went away. My whole philosophy was do them on a Thursday night. Do them on a night where you don't have anything in leagues, because kids got too much to choose from now. And, they got baseball, they got basketball, they got hockey, they've got wrestling, they've got football. They got way more sports now offered than what we had when we were kids. So there's some centers that are doing that route, and they're getting their junior programs back up and going. But, it's just a matter of what you can do.
I remember back in, this is going to age all of us, but back in the day, there was no open play on Saturday mornings, because Saturday mornings was all youth in high school.
Yeah. It's nowadays it's out here. It's all open bowling in most of the centers. There's a few centers that have the junior programs that don't have any open bowling. What's going on, Brody?
But I think there's so many proprietors now that wind up taking, they prioritize open play over everything else.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest sacrifice is the weekend time, and that was when the majority of the youth bowling, the organized youth bowling, was being held. And now it's starting to come back around, especially in the summertime. It's so easy to find a summertime youth league in my area, which I love. And there's a bunch of adult youth combo leagues where you can still qualify for juniors if you bowl well with your adult combo. Yeah, so, it's making its resurgence. It's just slowly but surely happening.
Yeah, a lot of the leagues out here, like a lot of adult leagues now, they've gone in like the summer. They've gone to like singles leagues, so that way the kids can't bowl in them and not violate the USBC rules and all that other stuff. But then I have my King of the Hills on Friday nights. I get, right now I'm averaging, I think it's like 120 people a night. And
that's sick.
It's probably, I would say, a good 40 to 50 youth bowlers that are bowling it. And there's a lot of parents that come out and watch, and a lot of parents are saying, well, we let our kids bowl this because, it gives them the experience in bowling tournaments and lets them get their feet wet, and, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And, it's what I wanted. That's how I wanted it to be. So my wife helps me out with it. And she sees it all too. Oh.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Just to give us a quick natural pause. Britt, you are freaking phenomenal, making it hail on everybody. Britt? Thank you so much.
What's going on, Britt?
Brian, okay, it says he got kicked off. Let's try to re-invite him. What happened?
He probably timed out.
Oh, there he goes. Okay, good. It's not a BHB pod without at least one pickle problem.
Dude, I swear to God, bro. Like, what the actual F?
Stay still. Wi-Fi signal.
What's your current favorite
I
bowl?
didn't even move. I have no idea. All of a sudden, I just disappeared. It just like my entire screen just went completely to my normal phone mode. I have no idea.
Jason, I think that is partially the problem, especially with trying to grow bowling. Trying to grow with more bowling centers popping up, because bowling centers are dying. They're not popping up, and the conglomerate is basically starting to slowly take over everything.
Yeah.
And you're right. The price to open bowl at these Boleros and these AMFs are typically unbelievable.
Now
the
here
Saint-
in the Chicagoland area out here, we've got Bolero or Lucky Strike, however you want to call it. Then we've got Main
Right.
Event, and then we've got Pinstripes, and then we've got all these bowling boutique places. You're making all
Yep.
these private centers thinking, oh, hey, we could do the same thing, that these places are doing, and it's like, no, you can't. You're not an entertainment center. You're not you're a bowling center.
no.
You need to rely on your leagues. There's some places that, you could probably get away with doing open bowling instead of leagues, but not everybody could do it.
Yeah, and that's why I love the mom and pops. And St. Louis is riddled with mom and pop bowling alleys.
Yep.
I love it here.
I want to go down to Shrewsbury because my buddy Andrew Orff, he's a mechanic there, and I want to go down there and bowl there so bad because he's always sending me like Snapchats. Like, got bored today, wanted to take apart a pin setter, put it back together before league started, and I'm like, who does that? Like,
The Orfs.
yep, he does all the time. I used to get him like once a week. I felt like doing the gearbox in this one. I felt like doing the turret on this one. I'm like, I buy a bowling center. I'm gonna have him come up and fix mine.
I would say, Brian, Kenny, if y'all, to give you a little background, the Orf family is like royalty in St. Louis. They're either pro shop guys or they're mechanics or they're operators. Yep. They are the best group of people, a great family, and they do so much for bowling in St. Louis. It's not even funny.
That's cool. So he said 3 centers here, total 45 kids and youth between all the houses and no coaches. What are they really learning if they don't have any coaches?
Nothing.
And I was to say that's another problem with
people
with
don't
the
want
youth
to
is
coach.
there's not enough dedicated coaches.
Well, people don't want to coach nowadays because the parents think that they know more than what the coaches know, and they try to override what the coaches say. And then there's a lot of people that I know that were great coaches. And, if the kids aren't going to listen to the coaches and they're going to listen to the parents, then why are you signing them up for a junior league? If you want them just to be able to talk to all their friends and everything, cool, no problem. Go open bowling. But
Yeah.
coaches, I remember when I was in junior program, my coaches that I had, my parents were always like, you listen to your coaches. They're going to tell you, they're going to help you, they're going to get you where you need to, where you want to be. And they did. I had some great coaches. I also had some coaches that were just there just because they wanted the free bowling and they wanted the free pop on Saturdays.
I mean, but we grew up in a little bit of different time though, as well.
Right.
Well, I mean, regardless if they're a bad coach or not, you still got to respect them because they are dedicating their time to you.
Exactly.
And that's the reality.
Exactly.
They are sacrificing time from their families. They are putting in the extra after work hours or
Right.
I mean, are they qualified for it? Probably not, but at least they're still doing more than other people would be doing.
Right.
Well, see, and that's another thing, Brody, is these coaches have to be adaptable to be able to coach all styles.
Yep.
That's the big problem they have right now.
Well, unfortunately, in the school systems, they hire within, and within means that they're going to pick a teacher over someone who's qualified, and that's not
Yep.
always the right move.
Right.
Oh, and speaking of good coaching stories, I've got a Randy Lightfoot coaching story for you, Jerry.
Oh boy.
Randy was really good friends with my biological father.
Uh-huh.
So I carry my adopted dad's last name because he's my dad, right?
Right.
So I don't carry my bio last name. He comes and watches me throw because I was wanting to possibly bowl for Lindenwood. And he's watching me because I have a 90-degree elbow bend in my backswing. I don't lift my hand up. I'm not Buttriff type, like wrapped on my forearm, but I do rest the ball on my forearm.
You're Bob Vespi type.
And Randy's watching me bowl like 2 games. He goes, "Kid, You do a lot of things wrong, but you do it in the right timing, so it works.
Yep. Yep.
He goes, I wouldn't know how to coach you.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
my
later
thing.
on, he finds out who I am, and he's like, well, Jesus Christ, if I had known you were Mick Swingrosh's kid, I would have had you bowl with us.
Yeah, I got nowadays, I've got some kids coming to me and parents are coming to me asking if I can give their kids lessons. And, you know, I'm not one to change somebody's style. I'm one to work with the style. It's the way my grandmother was with me. It's the way the coaches were with me. So that's the way I coach. I'm not certified, but I do know, you know, styles. I know what you should and should not do, and, you know, help timing. I get personally coached by Mike Jazz now. I go and see him at nationals when we go and he's there. Or if, like, when I went to the Masters, he was there. You know, there's like all kinds of different places that you go. He was actually there with our group for nationals this year. So, I mean, it was nice to see him, and,
That's good.
you know, the stuff that he's taught me and helps me with my game, I try to help with other people and try to, you know, integrate it with their game, and that's helped a lot of people. So
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, speaking of not being able to adapt to all styles, could you imagine trying to be Jacob Buttriff's youth coach and trying to coach him throwing that way?
Good luck. Good luck.
you want a
'Cause-
good story about Buttriff?
Oh, we got a Butter story. Oh, I love
Oh
it.
yeah, we bowled nationals in Vegas. Not last year, but like the
Please
2
tell
years
me
ago.
Butchie's still here.
What's that?
He said, please tell me Butchie's still here. Because we know Butchie.
So Butters kind of had a little too much to drink, and we were all down at
course.
the bar waiting for brackets. And he was sitting there practicing his like arm swing and his approach and everything. And he goes and like acts like he throws the ball, and all of a sudden you hear somebody go 7-pin, and he starts doing his little, you know, shaking his hand and everything, and everybody was laughing. Well, then he goes and acts like he picks up his volleyball, puts his hand on the air, and he goes to throw it to go pick it up, and somebody's like, miss.
Miss.
He sat there, crossed his arms, and was like standing like this, like he was out. We were all laughing about it. It was one of those great times.
Well, and that's what I love about Butters, because when it comes to the 7-pin, he's just like every other lefty. It's like, well, I might make it, I might not.
Yeah. I remember
But
watching
the thing
him on
that makes
telecast.
Butters is he can miss a 7 and then he can rattle off 4 in a row to make up for it.
Yep. I remember watching him on a telecast one time. He left the 7-pin. He's like, might as well hit the reset button because it's the only way I'm going to knock it down. And I died laughing. I was sitting at home laughing my butt off. And I was like, I can't believe he said that.
I had to find that video clip.
No, it was great.
But yeah, and the guy, I cannot imagine. And this is another funny Butter story because it's my one and only Butter story, but it's a good one. I was bowling the Pro-Am at Woodland. This is before I knew Joel, because Joel would have given me so much crap if I had knew him at that point.
Yeah.
But Butters had heard there was another lefty that kind of threw funny. And he's like, I want to bowl with this guy. And they're like, oh, he's on my pair. And he's like, all right, cool. There's a chance I get there. And he literally, the Pro-Am ends, and he is on the pair to my left.
Oh, boy.
And he's like, no, give me 3 more frames. I got to bowl with this guy. Give me 3 more frames.
Yeah, he's another good dude.
Speaking of Butters, who's your favorite pro bowler, or couple favorite pro bowlers?
Growing up as a kid, Bob Vespi was one, just because he had the whole bent elbow and he just unloaded on the ball. And then there was Parker Bowen and Mike Albee. I've become friends with Parker over the years, being on staff with DV8. Ironically, when I made the cut for World Series of Bowling, I was bowling against John Van Hees, and that was the year that John won. I believe it was the Scorpion. And Parker took me and Valena out to dinner, and he talked to us, and he was talking to us about what to expect, if we were to make it to TV, and what to expect when we're bowling match play. And really kind of took us under his wing that week. Another one that I've become really close with is Sean Rash. People can say what they want about that man, but he has been nothing but awesome to me. When I had my heart attack in 2018, he was one of the first people to call me after he'd seen the posts about it and ask me if I was okay, ask me if I needed anything, if I needed help with something. You know, just was there for me and was always there. Every time I've won a regional title or won a big tournament, Sean's been there. So Sean's pretty much up there with who's my favorite on tour and stuff like that. I've become friends with Belmo and all them other guys. Not trying to name drop, but you know, a lot of these guys out there. It's cool to know them. I'll get text messages from Rash once in a while asking me what's there to bowl and can he come bowl my King of the Hills, and I'm like, come on out, dude. And I'm like, nobody's gonna care.
Dude, honestly,
he's bowled a couple of my events and everybody loved it. The only problem with bowling, like with Sean bowling one of my events or anybody else, you know, if these kids come out and beat you, they're not going to let you live it down, and they don't.
Oh no, yeah.
True.
Well, that was the thing when I bowled Troop at the education center for CTD. If I hadn't made my own stupid mistakes getting into split trouble and missing makeables, we were going into the 7th frame and I was beating him.
Yeah.
And he had already lost a match previous to mine.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, all right, dude, you're about to beat Kyle frickin' Troop. All you got to do is stay clean. Mm-hmm. But Kyle's in the background just sitting there going, just give me one opening. Give me one opening and I am taking this apart.
Yep.
And I left a 4 to the left, which is the, 2, 6, 7, 8. And I got the 2, 6, 7 and left the 8. And Kyle just took off.
Yep. Yes,
and then I don't want to talk about the experience of me versus Kyle on the Red Devil, because by the 5th frame I was waving a white towel saying I give up.
Yeah, Kyle's another one. When I go to Louisville and you know I see everybody out there, I always run into him. Bowling the Bradley, Kentucky Open, all that stuff.
But yeah, I ran into Kyle. I'd gotten a lesson on Red Square like the next day, and Kyle shooting video content on the house shot pair to my left. And he sees me rattle off about 5 in a row on Red Square, throwing my damn good verge. I looked over and said, all right, Kyle, I'm ready for this rematch. I actually know what I'm doing on this pattern now. He goes, nah, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But Rash has his reputation, but he is a good dude. I ran into him at Nationals. My cousin helped put together their clinic at Tropicana in Quincy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sean's just very passionate about the sport, and
yeah,
you know, it's what I always tell people. You know, what you see on the internet and what you see on TV is not actually who they are. Pete Weber is a guy that's on TV who's very balls to the wall, very hyper and this and that. And then when you see him, you know, bowling like you know some of the small tournaments, regionals, and stuff like that, he's a down to earth dude. What you see on TV, it's the way it was explained to me from guys like Parker was. That's their job. How would you like it if somebody came to your job to try and take money out of your pocket? They're not going to be nice about it. You know, you're gonna be upset. And then one thing they're going to try not to do is let you take that money. And I see it now. I see what they mean by it when they say that.
Right. But yeah, I've bowled with Pete a handful of times in his older years. Like we were at Imperial for the Super Bowl trio a couple years ago, and he bowled that with a couple of guys.
Yeah,
just the nicest dude you could possibly be around when the lights aren't when the bright lights aren't on.
Yep.
But I told Rash, I was like, hey buddy, how did the clinic at the Trop go? And I didn't even say where. I was like, just the clinic at the Trop. And he goes, dude, it was great. He's like, the Tropicana at Quincy's a great house. We had a great turnout. I was like, cool, because my cousin helped put that together. And he's like, oh, who was your cousin? And I told him my cousin's name. He goes, oh yeah, he was hanging out all day. Because honestly, it was the husband and wife who owns the Trop putting
Right.
the majority of it together. But my cousin was doing like a bunch of behind the scenes work, keeping everything organized.
Right.
And he's like, no, he did a good job. They did a good job. And now like they're going back like in a month, I think, to do a second clinic at the Trop in Quincy.
Yeah. Yeah, they did their pro-am clinic over at River Grove out by us. And I was supposed to stop by. We had some family stuff come up, so I couldn't actually make it out there. But yeah, I mean, he does a really good job with the clinics. Never really hear anybody bitch and complain about it. So
Let's see here. Brian? Let's pull out another questionnaire question for JB.
I can give you kind of like a 2-for-1 virtue proof question. Thoughts on Bolero and thoughts on string pin.
what's what? I'm sorry.
Thoughts on Bolero and thoughts on string pins.
Can't really say much about Bolero. I'll start off with string pins. I actually don't have a problem with them. Stephen Honan, the guy that owns Foxview and Sussex Bowl up in Milwaukee area, Waukesha, whichever area you want to refer to. When they first had Foxview go over to strings, I had messaged him and told him that I was interested in coming out and bowling. And he was like, bring a group of friends. So I brought, I think it was like 6 of us out there. We set it up. We bowled for probably about 3 hours. From what I've seen on them, you're going to get hits on strings that you're not going to get on free falls. And you're going to get hits on free falls that you're not going to get on strings. And it all basically evens itself out. The Bolero that's out here by us, they just went to strings and got rid of their GS pin setters.
I'm gonna take it into work tomorrow and have them clear.
I really don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I can't say anything bad about strings just because if it's going to keep
lost
bowling
audio.
alive, it's the same thing with two-handed bowling. You know, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Everybody?
Respect.
I don't
That's
know if it's on
respectful.
everybody.
Bolero, I mean, I think Bolero's good for the PBA. Bolero's good for bowling in a open bowling standpoint, league-wise. I don't see how they would be
Okay. So
super
it's just
good
me.
because of the fact that
Probably your head.
when Bolero took over in the centers in Chicago, they pretty much kicked out all the bowlers. They had some centers that had their league stay, but most of the leagues in some of these centers, they were just like, we don't want you. Bye. See you later. And to me, it's league bowling for a bowling center is your guaranteed money. So I don't understand how
Yeah.
– I shouldn't say that. I understand how they're staying open. Having lane servers now, you don't realize how much money you spend until they hand you that check and say, here you go. And the next thing you know, you're paying $200 for 2 hours of bowling and all the food and drink that you ordered that you didn't realize you ordered.
Right. How did your centers
195.
take like the COVID aspect? Did a lot of your centers shut down, or did they like just kind of do things in smaller portions?
Ironically,
I was gonna say we got a 5-pin after this.
you got a what?
A 5-pin. That's our code for we have a chat question.
Oh, ironically, COVID had some of the centers, they closed for like the 3 weeks that the governor said.
Right.
And then after the 3 weeks, they were like, no, we're going to open. There's no way we're going to stay closed. We're going to, if we do, we're going to lose our business. So they stayed open under the books. And I hosted tournaments. Everybody stayed open, but for like I should say for like the first month and a half, some of the centers stayed closed. Some opened up. We had one center out by us that the owner called up me and a bunch of the higher name bowlers in the area and was like, look, I'm not supposed to be open, but technically if I'm not open, they can't get me in trouble for it. He goes, if you guys want to bowl, I'll let you bowl in my center for 2 hours. Just pay me $20 a person and you bowl. I'll put 4 different patterns out because it was an 8-lane center. And there was a bunch of us that went. And it was a good time. And we had one time, I want to say there was 8 of us bowling, and one of the police officers from the town came, saw that the doors were open. So he walked in, and we all kind of like stood there like deer in headlights and was like, what do we do? what do we do? And he was like, go ahead and continue bowling. I don't give a damn. He's like, guys ain't going to bother me. And I'm like, well, can't we get in trouble because technically you're supposed to be closed? And he goes, are you paying customers? We're like, no. And he's like, technically they're not open.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one way to go around it.
Okay, so Jason asked, what is the funniest tournament experience that you've ever had, whether it be the Peterson or anything else?
If it's Jason Welch, like I thought he had said that he was in the comments, I'd have to say his experience bowling against him was probably the absolute best. Rockford, Illinois at Don Carter Lanes has a King of the Hill every Saturday, or they used to have one every Saturday. And it was bowl 3 games, cut top 16 for match play, and then you go that route. And my buddy Jake had just gotten into bowling and just started, and he was like, I want to go try this King of the Hill thing. I said, okay. So Jake goes out and bowls and makes match play, and I made match play. And you have to win 2 matches in order to win your money back. That's the way they had the whole thing structured, and people didn't care about it. You basically went for the brackets. And I bowled against Jason Welch, and I needed a mark in the 10th to beat him to advance to the next round. And my buddy Jake was bowling his match, so I was trying to keep Jake calm, and I was on 7 and 8, I believe, and Jake was on 15 and 16. So in between my turns to bowl, I was running down by Jake to keep him calm. But when I left the 7-10 split, I was like, I lost. Oh, well. And I took my ball and I threw it down the lane as hard as I could. And when I did, I turned around as soon as I released it, and I started running down towards Jake. And then all of a sudden I hear everybody yelling and cheering, and I turn around, I look at Jason, and Jason looks at me and he goes, you son of a bitch. And I was like, what? And I look down and I see the score saying spare, and I'm like, you're kidding me. And he was like, no. And I'm like, son of a gun. So I went up there and threw the net with a fill ball, beat him in the match. My buddy Jake ended up winning his match. And then I don't remember the results, like if I won or not, but it was one of those tournaments that was just like, that experience was the greatest. PBA-wise, I'd have to say the best experience was when I won my first regional up in Madison. That was super memorable. My mom and my dad were there. They tried surprising me. They were trying to hide in the game room to make it look like they weren't there, and I had seen them. So I mean, it was pretty cool to win that in front of them.
That's cool.
That is the last promise that I have to my grandfather, because I gave him my, you know how when you become a PBA member, they give you the small patches that you can iron onto your shirt, onto like a polo if you don't have a jersey.
Yeah.
Well, I gave him one of them and said, hey, you're the reason why I have this. You were my biggest supporter bowling. And if I didn't have you in my corner, I wouldn't have this.
Right.
And it turned out to be the last conversation I had with my grandfather before he passed. And he's like, I'm proud of you. I knew you could always do it. He knew my bio dad could do it, but my bio dad never kept himself clean, like hygiene wise. So nobody took him seriously. He had the talent, but he just wouldn't keep himself clean.
Yeah.
So that's why he never made it. And my grandfather looked at me and goes, all right, there's one last thing I want you to do. I said, what's that? He goes, I want you to go win. And I looked at him. I'm like, Grandpa, I'm going to go out and get my ass handed to me for the first couple of years I'm out there. There ain't no way. And my grandpa had the same like dry, sarcastic sense of humor that runs in my entire family. Looks me dead in the eye and goes, I didn't tell you to go out and win one tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's like, but I want you to win one. So that is, I mean, I've got my grandfather's signature that he signed his Bible with that I inherited. So I've got my grandpa's signature on my forearm, which ironically enough is a McCune. Yes, I do share a slight gene with Kevin and Eugene. But that is the last thing I have to do to honor my grandfather is win a PBA tournament in some form. I don't care if it's I don't care if it's regionals. I don't care. Well, I'm never going to pursue nationals. My arm will fall off. I just don't have that kind of endurance. I don't care if it's regional or PBA 50, but by the time I go, I need to have PBA champion next to my name so I can honor my grandfather's last wish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm there's a lot of tournaments that are in the area that we bowl. Like Brody just mentioned, the 11 Frame Open. That's Jeff Wriggles' tournament. That's probably one of the funnest tournaments to ever bowl, and that's just because you bowl 6 games of qualifying on Saturday. There's 3 squads, and if you make the top 48, I think it is, regardless of entries, you bowl on Sunday. And then Sunday you bowl 12 games, but each game is basically like a match play point system. So if you're the high score for game 1, you get 48 bonus pins. And if you're the second highest, you get 47, and the 46, 45, all the way down to 1. And I won that one back in 2021. But ever since they changed the oil pattern to a 37-foot pattern, I haven't cashed in that event. So it's like, I looked at the tournament director last year. He thought I was joking, and I was dead serious. I'm like, if this is the same pattern as it's been the last 3 years, I'm not coming back. I'm not wasting my money on that pattern. You know, I've tried fighting hard tooth and nail to be better on short, and that pattern does not play short. That pattern plays all kinds of wonky ways because Cherry Lanes in Dubuque, Iowa is just one center that, you know, if you don't know how to play something there, then you're never going to understand it.
I was
So
to say
what's your
Frontier in
favorite-
O'Fallon, Missouri was the same way because it was a super old surface, and it's like, dude, if you don't bowl there on the regular, patterns don't play the way they normally should. So I understand that story.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Cobra?
Yeah, Cobra, go ahead.
What's
I'm
your-
sorry.
What's your favorite pattern to play on?
Anything that starts with a 4 or 5.
Okay,
My
what-
favorite,
which-
my favorite specific pattern is red square.
Oh, okay. I've played on that. That's brutal. That
It-
one's a tough pattern.
It's brutal, but the reason why I like it is because it tests you. It's not one of those patterns that you could sit there and go, oh, okay, I can miss my target by 3 boards right and it's still going to strike. I'm going to miss my target by 2 boards left and it's still going to strike. You got to be like on it.
I'm
And-
playing the DGAB's sweeper. I think that's what they're laying out this week for that sweeper. Same pattern.
Yeah. But like I've won quite a few tournaments on red square, and then people are like, well, I don't understand how you do it. It's like, I could be accurate with spares like crazy. You know, I'm a very good spare shooter. I pride my game on my spare shooting, but I could throw strikes with the best of them. And I think that's why I succeed at red square, is because a lot of my spares, I'm covering probably 95% of my spares unless I'm having a really bad day or I'm bowling on short, either or. I don't know what I used to be really good on short. Now I just, with urethane back in play, I'm not good with it anymore.
Yeah, and with red square, the key with red square is building your shot in practice.
Yep.
You're trying to burn one line, and then you're trying to push oil down on the other, and you're basically building your own shot.
Yep.
When it's that flat, the only thing you can do is try to work your own shot, break it down, and build the shot you want to see.
Yeah. To me, it's all about breaking patterns down. Excuse me. I'm not one for throwing urethane, but I'm one of those guys where I'm like, if you want to throw urethane, go ahead. You're just going to help me out. You know, and my game is to get left and be able to throw it slow and control it. And if you're going to throw urethane on a pattern, that just means I can get more left and get more comfortable, and I'm happy with that.
Jason's got another good question down there. Between the 4 of us, thoughts on bowling on wood versus synthetic?
Oh, I thought you said you were taking it to a mechanic. I'm like,
No,
oh
I
dear
mean,
God.
Synthetic.
YouTube a mechanic.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have a problem with synthetic. I like bowling on wood lanes. The only thing I don't like about bowling on wood lanes is getting your bowling ball done after 3 or 4 games and having all those little nicks all over it because the lanes weren't taken care of. But other than that, I mean, it's. I could tell you right now, if you were to ask me what kind of pin setter I would prefer to bowl on,
Yay!
NXT pin setters. So,
I'm an
I don't
A2
think
guy.
there's many. I don't think there's many wood lanes out here anymore. I think there's maybe one within 35 minutes from here. So
we've got a couple out here. One's Elgin Lanes. It's a 30-lane house. Older theme center. There's a couple others that are not too far from here. I believe there's one up in Wisconsin. But majority of everybody else is pretty much gone to synthetic.
I was gonna say, if you want
Western
wood,
Bowl, I think Western Bowl and Cincinnati area's got it, but I'm not for sure 100%.
Isn't Western Bowl the center that does the hoinky?
The what?
The hoinky?
The Hoinky-
That I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're correct when you said that. Yeah.
but if you're
One
if you're
tournament I've
looking
never
for
bowled.
wood in Illinois,
Gilmore
Um,
Lanes is what it is. Sorry about that.
There you go.
Tropicana and Quincy is all wood.
Oh, okay. I've never been there actually.
I went up there because my cousin said, "Hey, come up and bowl this tournament with me." I threw a purple hammer and
Actually-
I was hooking it like
Actually,
20-7.
I might be wrong on that. I might have bowled it at Tropicana when I was a kid for juniors when I bowled state tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember bowling in Quincy quite a few times when we were in juniors.
It's a good house. I sat there and averaged probably 220, and I had a 196 book at the time. I averaged 220 throwing nothing but the purple hammer all day long and hooking the entire lane with it.
Yeah.
What's your
favorite
least
center-
favorite?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say my favorite center to ever bowl in a Super Bowl out in Peru, Illinois, in the Peru LaSalle area. That place, the Stublers, Nate Stubler's parents used to own it, and the people that own it now are doing just as good a job as the Stublers did. Every time they have a regional out there, everybody's so welcoming. They've got restaurants out there that's got such amazing food. They just, I don't know, just something about Peru, Illinois. Every time you go out there, you just get all giddy because you get to see all the people that you got to bowl. I got to meet Melanie McDaniel when she was like 15, 16 years old when I was first starting out on tour, and I'm good friends with her now. And, it's all these people that you meet, as you're bowling throughout the years is just, you can't help but call them family because they're just always there with you. And when you go, like, especially Peru, going out there and seeing everybody, it's an awesome time.
But yes, Jason, I have heard of the 100-foot lane. I believe Packy currently has the high game on it at like 244.
Yeah, did you ever see the video of how they have to oil that?
No. I
when
can
they oil-
imagine that's a nightmare.
When they oil that lane, they literally have to take the oiling machine and oil 40 feet,
And then
and then they take the oil machine and oil like another 40 feet.
they stage it.
Yeah, but they have like a line drawn on the lane, so the oil machine will get there, they'll turn it off, they'll reprogram it, keep it there, and then it'll strip an oil and go down, knock the pins down, and then it'll come back down. And then once it gets to that line, they hit the home button or the move button, and it basically moves the machine back to the foul line.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch.
What's your least favorite pattern?
Yeah.
Anything that starts with a 3.
Right. No,
Um,
I can relate.
Wolf is not my favorite. Ironically, though, I do have I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Boot Hill
No.
tournaments.
Stop.
But Boot Hill tournaments, the guy by the name of Woody Dema used to run tournaments. They always said that they were the hardest tournaments ever to bowl because he always used flat patterns. And the only thing that he would say about the patterns is the distance and the mill. And whether, it was a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1.62 to 1 ratio. It was always flat patterns. And it was just, he had one out there that was like 31 feet, like 29 mils or something like that. And I somehow won that Boot Hill. I was actually shocked by myself because I 31 feet, you'd never think I'd actually win something like that, and I did.
I had to remember what they were called. So
That's pretty short.
Yeah, it was not fun, but it was worth it once the payday came out.
As soon as your ball touched the lane, that's hooking.
I somehow was able to get to loft the ball past the dots to get it not to hook so early, and worked out for me. I think I won that game at like 170 to 150.
I was
Yeah, we just
I was to say
we just threw-
my least favorite is the freaking cheetah. I never shoot well on the cheetah.
Have you ever bowled on a new cheetah?
No.
35 feet, 37 mils.
Good God.
Yeah. Basically, and like to some people, it took urethane out of their hands completely. And
I could.
some people, they could still throw urethane on it, but it's like it takes the urethane out of majority of the people's hands.
Yeah, I would think that if I were to do it, I would have to sand down a big ASIM that I've short pinned and sand it
Yep.
down to like 500.
I drilled a 2-inch pin gem, and that wasn't enough. That's the last
Jesus.
regional that we bowled on.
Or go to 360 if I could find somebody with a 360 pad just to drop it and then ball change out.
I got 2 of them.
Okay, so what's the biggest advice or suggestion for people who are just now starting sport patterns?
I'll tell you what my grandparents used to tell me. I shouldn't say my grandparents, but my grandmother used to tell me: make your spares.
Facts.
It's nowadays. I watch these kids bowl and practice, and they don't care about picking up spares. They leave a 10 pin and they hit the reset button. And I have some kids that I'm like, why did you hit the reset button? They're like, why would I want to pick that up? I'm like,
Because you need
how do
to.
you know that you're going to be able to pick that up in a tournament? You know,
Right.
I've done it once. The challenge that I gave myself one time, I wish it was in the day where I had TikTok, but this was probably about 8-10 years ago. I went to Bolero out by us, and I set up 110 pins, and I picked up 98 out of the 100.
That's
And
awesome.
I had another guy with me that put up 50, and he picked up the 10 pin 22 times.
Oh, wow.
And he just looked at me and he goes, I need a lot of work. And I said, all it does is take practice. This is where I tell people all the time, when you're practicing and you leave a spare, pick it up.
Yep.
Don't reset the button, pick it up, because
Right.
you're never going to understand what your ball's going to do, especially when the lanes break down. You know, you need to know what your ball's going to do. If you got like a sleeper like 2.8 or 3.9, something like that, you got to understand what your ball's going to do when it's going to it. And if you don't practice picking those up, it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah,
So
when I
on-
practice, I like to, oh, sorry, Cobra. When I practice, I like hitting at least one game of low ball.
I do too, but at the same time, the way I look at it is if I keep constantly practicing picking up like the 3-6-10, you're practicing basically picking up the 3 pin, the 6 pin, and the 10 pin all in the same shot. You
Right.
know, I like to do just the 10 pin by itself just because it gives me that mindset. There's a lot of times where I'll go to centers that have the GSX pin setters to where I can set up my spares. And I'll set up like the 210, the 310, the Greek church, you know, and I'll try and pick them up, see how many times I can pick them up and go that route. I haven't done it in a while, just because with my job, I'm working a little bit of overtime nowadays, so I don't really have much time to go practice. But when I do practice, I try to put that into the regimen, the regimen for practice. Nice
Makes
thing
sense.
is I have Poplar Creek Bowl out here. Pete, the guy that's the head mechanic, as long as I give him like 24-hour notice, he'll put out whatever pattern I'm going to bowl on. I'll ask him, you know, hey, can you put this pattern out? It's like, yep, no problem. They've got the Kaggle machine to where he can literally pull his phone up, program it in his phone, and tell the mechanic that's, you know, the kid that's back here, hey, go oil these 2 lanes for Jerry, and they'll go do it.
I would say a higher season average would be more impressive than a 300 because anybody can get a 300 and turn around and bowl a 110 for the rest of the season or league. To me, a higher average overall would be better.
Higher average, I think, is just shows that you're more consistent because
Yep.
unfortunately now today's game technology, the way bowling balls are, anybody could shoot a 300. But having like a 240, 245, 250 average, I think that's more impressive.
Yeah, I think higher series is like the ultimate goal.
So it's like Hayden asked, like a Typhoon. Would that be good on shorter patterns?
I drilled mine, and honestly, mine hooks a lot more than I thought it would. Um, if I was to get another one, I'd probably draw a smaller pin on it. I think I got like a 4 1/4 on mine, and it hooks a lot more than I thought it would. So for me,
Jason,
no, but some people it would be.
Jason, a lot of bowling pro shops or people in the bowling community donate balls to youth people. So, go ahead.
I know I donate a lot of my bowling balls to the youth programs. We have a high school out here that has boys and girls team. And when I got done with, when I wasn't on Brunswick anymore, I pretty much donated all those to them. You do have some centers, like Poplar Creek. They have a storage shed that has a bunch of bowling balls that were donated by people, and they open it up to their youth bowlers. They can go in there and get the bowling balls.
I would say I've donated a few of my balls to a youth kid in my area. I'm gonna if the rest of this year goes according to plan, I will have a lot of other balls that I will be donating to more of the youth in the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
But yeah, Britt, Cobra's right. Your time's coming. I waited 20 years before I threw my first one.
Yeah, they always say your first 300 is the hardest one to get. The second one's even harder.
I've heard as soon as you get past the second, they just come in.
It's not so much that they come. It's not that they come more often. It's I find it. You get a lot more people getting more relaxed because they've already done it twice, and they're just like,
Right.
okay, cool. I fortunately have the same thing in common that Pete Weber has in common with him. Pete Weber's very first game in an adult league, he shot 300. My very first game in an adult league, I shot 300. So it's cool to know when I talked to Pete about it, and he had told me, I was like, hey, so do I.
Yeah, my 299 heartbreak post that's on my page, that was going for 300 number 2.
So I posted a video, I want to say it was probably about a month and a half ago, basically where somebody commented on one of my videos and says, oh man, all you do is strike and this and that. I'm like, no, I don't. So I posted a video where like all the breaks that I don't get. Majority of those videos were me going for 300 and shooting 299. And I have one in there where I threw the ball and I smashed pocket left a 7-pin. And I smiled and pointed up and to the screen, and my buddy recorded the screen. It said 299. Ironically, in that tournament, I had 2 299s and a 298. And the 2 299s that I had, basically the same thing happened. The 7-pin, same exact way, just different pairs, different.
That's crazy.
It was like 6 games of qualifying, and then you come back like another time, you bowl 6 more games of qualifying, and it was wild.
I mean, consistent.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I think everybody's frustration is a stone 8 or a stone 9.
We used to call the stone 8 the Ocho. A bunch of guys out in Rockford, we would bowl and we would leave it. And we started doing the whole, if you go up there and you stone the 8-pin, you just turn around and everybody be sitting there rubbing their chest.
Yeah.
And be like, pet that furry little fucker, and stuff like that. Some of the people that would, made bowling a lot better.
I would say I always called a stone 8 for a righty the Randy.
Yeah. Ironically, Randy hates that people refer to him on that. He absolutely hates it. I'll never forget watching the one telecast where I forgot who it was, but somebody stoned an 8-pin and the crowd started chanting Randy, and he was like, "What?" he was not happy about it. I was like, "Yep, that's the Randy we know."
Well, and my thing is when that happened to Randy, you felt so terrible for Randy, but his opponent was screaming and hollering and hooping and hollering like he had just did something miraculous. Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's like, dude, you had nothing to do with that. That is just pure dumb bad luck on his part.
Yep. Yeah, I get a kick out of some of the people out here that when we bowl and we bowl in some of these tournaments and these people beat me. I don't even say it's tournaments, it's league. I've had people literally celebrate because they beat me in series at league, and I'm like, congratulations, dude. It's league, you know. I literally had one guy celebrate and was like, yeah, and then he didn't know. I was over at the slot machines waiting for brackets to be paid out, and he was in the bar just running his mouth, talking all kinds of shit about me. And somebody was like, you know, Jerry's up by the slot machines, right? Oh yeah. And I was like, how's it going? It's just.
See, no, that's when you say, hey, turn a pair back on, we're rolling action, and let's see how much money you lose.
But see, nobody out here will bowl action. And the reason why I say nobody, people in Chicago will sit there and say, oh, I'll bowl you $1,000 a game. It's like, okay, cool. Meet you at this center, you know, we'll bowl in this pattern. Nope. We're bowling at my house on a house shot. It's like, no, I'm not bowling for $1,000 on a house shot. You want to bowl for $1,000, you want to bowl for $500, you want to bowl for $400. Cool. We're bowling at a neutral center that neither one of us bowled at. We're bowling on something challenging. We're not bowling on this free hook shit. You know. And
I was going to say, bring him to the Midnight Bowler Society. That pattern is brutal.
That's a tournament they don't really care for me at.
You get your name, sir.
I called out some people because the last year that they had it, we bowled, and 2 or 3 games I would have came in third place, and by according to what their standard payouts were, they had 22 bowlers and they were going to pay out 3 people, and then somebody changed their mind and said, nope, we're going to pay 2 people. And I got upset and I made a post about it, and they didn't really care for my post, and they deleted me from all the chats and everything for the tournament. And now that I see that they were going to try and start it up again, I reacted at the post that they were canceling it. And some people didn't like it and got butthurt about it and decided to message me and call me out on it. So I gave them my feelings, and I told them, you want to talk about it? I'll be there July 12th. We can talk.
People in St. Louis butthurt? No.
Never.
It's people everywhere. So at this comment, Jerome Woodford, Jason commented and put Jerome Woodford. That man holds a special place in my heart, and he's no longer with us because I don't know if you guys ever heard about it in the news out by you, but when COVID was here and all the bowling centers were shut down, Jerome was at Don Carter Lanes in Rockford, and the restaurants could be open for pickup and stuff like that, and bars could be open, but you had to have limited, amount of people in there. And Jerome was at the bowling center in the bar, and somebody came in and shot up the bowling center. Jerome was trying to escape, and the bar that he was at was on the 2nd floor. And when he was trying to escape, he was trying to jump off the balcony, ended up getting shot twice. And when he jumped off the balcony, he was getting shot. He got shot as he was going down and lost control and basically hit the ground, broke his neck. And what that man did for me for bowling, when I was 18 years old, I did not want to be one of those guys that said, what if? And Jerome was that person that was like, you've got the talent, you've got the skill, you need to go and be a pro. And when I was 22, I bowled my first regional and I cashed, and Jerome was there. That man will forever be in my heart. So just so everybody knows who Jerome Woodfork is, we made it a pact and let people know about Jerome. He was one of the best people out there, best bowlers in Rockford. Man, talked a bunch of shit, but man, you got done bowling, he gave you a hug and told you he loved you, and everything was just about bowling. Yes, kid, I am bowling
like
Lucy.
that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll be at the Lucy.
So you're bowling the
Houston
Lucy.
at the end of
Who's your
July.
partner?
Same partner I had 2 years ago, Samantha Kelly. Sam and I have been really good friends for 15, 16 years. Her and I always said we were going to bowl it one year, and my first year I bowled with Melanie McDaniel, And for like the 2 or 3 years previous to that, Sam and I were trying to bowl. Something always came up. We were going to bowl one year, and she ended up getting pregnant. And then the following year, she went to go buy a house, and she couldn't afford it then. And then the year after that, she still wasn't sure if she, could be able to swing it. So Melanie asked me if I'd bowl, and I said yeah. And then the year after that, Sam was like, "Screw it, let's do it." So I decided to bowl with Sam because her and I had always said that if we both get the chance to go bowl, we're going to do it. And we ended up missing the cut. I think last year, 2 years ago, I think by like 16 pins or something like that. Sam, I want to say she went like 80 under. And I think I went like 230 over. And the cut was like 115 or 125 over or something like that as a team. So
Yeah, that just gives you something to strive for.
if you ever get a chance, you don't even have to bowl the Lucy. Just being in that atmosphere with all those people, it's phenomenal. Just watching like guys like Rash and Tom Doherty and Wes Malott riding bicycles up and down the approaches while people are trying to bowl. It's hilarious. They do, Donna and all them, they do so much for breast cancer, and they do so much for like the bowlers. And when I say they do so much, they have so many giveaways. If you have one of the breast cancer spare balls, you get paid for it to use it. Like, what tournament do you get paid to use a spare ball?
Right.
They have so many different ways that you can win money. If you don't cash, they do a drawing for the people who didn't cash, and if your name gets drawn, you win $100. And it's not just you; it's you and your partner. You each get $100. So they find ways to give back to everybody who's coming out there. Me, the 2 years that I bowled it, I raised over $1,000 for each year with my King of the Hills. I did drawings and raffles last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, I didn't bowl last year, but somebody donated breast cancer spare ball for me. And when I asked him, do you want anything for it? He was like, no. He's like, donate it. He goes, I don't want nothing for it. And I'm like, all right. And we raised, I think it was like $900 for that. And then we raised another $300 and people just donating. It's pretty cool what the bowling community can do, what the community can do.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that my bowling center is not super large where I'm doing my leagues, but we still do a tournament to help feed kids that are in need and are struggling, give them extra education.
Yeah.
And also fed, or
Yeah,
able to do things that they're not necessarily going to be able to do if they don't have some help.
Yeah, my wife and I, when my wife and I first started dating, I've known her since I was 18. We went to senior year of high school together. And we just remained really good friends. And then when I got divorced the second time, we decided to give the whole dating thing a try. And, she's my world. She's the biggest supporter I have. She's, she pushes me to be better. When we first got together and when I had my heart attack, when we first got married in 2018, she wasn't one to just let me sit and sulk. She'd be like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So I got back into running. We used to run like the Hot Chocolate 5K runs, Shamrock Shuffles. She's done the Chicago Marathon. She helped me get back to being healthy and being, me. But her and I used to do Black Friday. I run a Black Friday doubles tournament. And the joke with that tournament, real quick, was we started it at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the first year we ran it, we had like 37 teams. And everybody's like, why are you doing it this early? And I'm like, ladies can go shopping. Guys can go bowling. And now everybody's like, started a little later. So we started at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. But when we get done with that, we go to the city of Chicago. We do a blanket jacket drive. We collect socks and everything else. And we go down to the city of Chicago, and we used to hand out jackets and stuff to the homeless. and the bowling community used to show up for that. You know, people come and bowl my tournament and that day, and they'd bring jackets and they'd bring pillows and blankets and stuff like that. We would literally go down with a car jam packed worth of stuff. Sean Rash's mom would make a bunch of knit hats and gloves, and she would give them to me and take them down there. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, we got attacked down there, and I don't want to say we got attacked, got jumped, beat up, but we had a bunch of stuff in the car, and we opened up the car, and a bunch of people came out of nowhere, and they were like, "What about us? Why aren't you giving stuff to us?" And this and that. I'm like, "Dude, I'm driving all down Lower Wacker Drive. I'm giving it to everybody." I'm like, "You know, you want some stuff? I'll give you some stuff." And they basically wanted everything we had in the car, and I wouldn't let them have it. And they kind of got upset with us, and my wife got scared. And in all actuality, it's the one time that I actually got scared down there. So we said no more, and we haven't gone down there since. Especially with all the stuff that's going on nowadays in the world.
It's tough, 100%. I mean, you think that you can do a good deed, and you kind of find yourself in a tough situation sometimes.
Pretty much. I mean, I try to help everybody I can. I have some people that message me and ask me if I could sponsor them in tournaments, and I try to help them out as best as I can. But I never had the opportunities that you know, some of these kids have nowadays, and I don't want to see anybody not try. Like, my biggest thing is, you know, you always help people if you can, and I'm not saying I go out and hand over my money and just say, "Here you go."
Right.
But you know, I've had friends that have been there for me and helped me out when I was at my lowest, and I try to be there for my friends. You know, I'm not saying that's at their lowest, but, you know, I've got some friends that are like, "Oh, I wanted to bowl this tournament, but I don't really have the money for it." Go bowl. Go enjoy it. Go experience it. Go see what it's like. You never know what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
I fortunately have a sponsor for some of my tournaments that I bowl, for some of the bigger tournaments that I bowl. And, you know, he's one of the guys that he doesn't ask for money back. You know, when I went and bowled nationals last year in Vegas, he literally handed me money for brackets, and I won like $3,600 in brackets. And I went to go give him his portion, and he was like, "What's that for?" I was like, "It's your money. It's not my money. It's your money." You know, and he was like, "What money?" And I said, "You gave me money to get in brackets." He goes, "I did?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "I don't remember that." And I'm like, "Dude, don't do this to me." You know?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, you know, I appreciate people helping me, but I don't want to feel like I'm screwing people over.
Right.
I've been screwed over enough. I just don't like screwing people over. You know, if I owe somebody money and I say I'm going to pay them back, I pay them back. You know, it's just the way I am.
Exactly.
Can someone answer his question? JMS's?
Well, it all depends on what you want to talk about with the OCs. I mean, I can tell you about team. I could tell you about doubles. I could tell you about Bowler's Journal. I could tell you about Rick Ramsey's tournament, the BTM team event. And I can tell you how we broke them down. Team event, we basically had two guys throwing urethane right up 3, 4, 5. And then we had two guys throwing plastic from 10 all the way up to the pocket. We just basically broke them down and gave us that hold area down lane. And we had one guy stick with urethane for as long as he could and got out of it. And everybody else, we just basically stuck to the game plan of staying as far right as long as we can go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't give you much insight on team event. I was the sole lefty on my team, so I was on an island by myself.
Trust me, Justin, I ain't gonna give away all the secrets. we have two really good teams. We have our major team. I shouldn't even say our major team. The two teams that we bowl with, all 10 people, are very special. All very good bowlers, very talented bowlers. David Cole was probably the superstar this year of our team. Excuse me. That guy was just lights out. I want to say he's sitting third or fourth in all events. He's sitting pretty good in singles. Doubles, they did pretty good. Emma Wren, she struggled a little bit this year, but last year when she bowled, man, she first OCs last year, I think she shot like 19 something, and we were all like, it's your first OCs, you shot 1900, be happy, and even if you would have shot just 1800, you both be happy,
Mm-hmm.
You got me, you got Joel. Joel actually came to me this year before we even started bowling, and he was like, "Look," he goes, "I know you want to win, and I know you want to do something special out here." He goes, "So if this year I can't, be up to your standards," he goes, "if you want to bowl with somebody else," he goes, "just don't kick me off the team." He goes, "But I understand if you want to get somebody else in doubles." And I said, "Dude, I'm not worried about that right now." I said, "I'm worried about just bowling this year and just enjoying ourselves and seeing what we can do." And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really. Joel going to two-handed, I was like, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to turn out. But the way that man has fought, the way that man has practiced and dedicated himself to it, it really showed out nationals. And I see all the hate that he's getting on TikTok and stuff like that. And it's like, I love how he just lets it bounce off of him and he doesn't let it bother him. He's kind of like me in that aspect. You want to hate on me, go ahead. You're not going to hurt me. Like the old saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Right.
I could take the best of everything. Just don't talk about once you start making comments about like my daughter or my family or something like that. You might get under my skin, but you're not going to hurt my feelings. You're not going to get me to the point where I'm just going to blow up. I'm just going to look at you and laugh and just be like, okay, whatever. But Joel going to two-handed, he really blew me away with that. And then the way he held his composure and the way he was able to change going from like firing the ball down the lane and trying to get the ball to project down lane instead of letting the ball roll. It was awesome to see him progress and actually see him mature more and not so much let it get to him when he threw a bad shot. He just kind of bounced it off and let it go. We got Tyler Tornow. He's from Iowa/Illinois. He lives like really on the border. He's another really solid player. Our companion team is Kristen McKinty, Taylor Ellison, Brendan Ceramic. Brendan used to bowl on our main team, but then he took a couple years off and just decided he didn't want to bowl. And then Baton Rouge came around and he wanted to bowl again. So we were like, you can bowl on a companion team, but we're not going to kick anybody off the main team. And it's just become like a really good group. We've got our chat. And OCs is basically just one of those tournaments that, you need to go out there and you need to work as a team. You need to have a good companion team in order to do something, whether it's doubles and singles or team. Everybody's got to work together and everybody's got to have that same mindset that you want to do something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem with most people is they come in with that game plan, and then the second the game starts, it goes out the window.
Yeah, we've had quite a few people. I've had quite a few people message me and say, "Hey, I'm looking to get away from the team that I'm on because nobody wants to work together and everybody wants to do it for themselves, and you just can't be that way." And we've got a couple people within the group that are like, if you could put together a really solid team, let me know. And I've got 4 really good bowlers right now that they're going to be a really good team. We're looking for the 5th for them. And then I just had another team from St. Louis call me up and say that they wanted to join our group. So we might put them 2 together and let them be companion teams and let them, work themselves out. But we've gotten a lot of calls from people interested in joining our group. Don Amorosi is the guy that leads our group. He's got 70 teams going next year. And yes, I did say 70.
That's nuts.
The guy's in his 80s and he's freaking out of his mind. And he's telling me, he's like, well, I want you to take it over. And I'm like, Don, that's a full-time job. And I don't know if I really want that full-time job, but I'm willing to do it and take it over because I got my wife to help me. And people don't realize it, but my wife does a lot of stuff in the background that helps me out tremendously and keeps me sane by what she does. She's very good with Excel spreadsheets. She's very good at keeping things organized. Me, I'm just like, okay, I put this here, and then I'll come home and it'll be moved. And I'm like, what happened to this? And she's like, well, I put it away. I'm like, why? I knew where it was at. Just let it be.
And I think that's a big thing that helps us 3 is we have the most amazing backing by the people that don't get recognized enough.
Right. You know, my wife, she's not one of those type people where she likes to be out in the open on social media. Um, I don't post much about her on TikTok. I do post her in some of the videos that we do and that I do, just because she doesn't like that attention. She doesn't like to be a part of that,
Yep.
you
Same.
know, and she's got her own Facebook. And when people realize that she's my wife, then, you know, she gets all these friend requests and she messages me and she's like, who's this person? I'm like, I just don't know. Never met him, but I'm friends with him on Facebook. And
I would say, just ask Joel what he thinks about my wife.
He loves me.
Joel loves
Are you still
everybody as
open?
long as you don't piss him off.
Joel loves me.
Sister. The sister.
Your sister.
Joel and I,
Every time.
he's a different character.
Your sister, Joel.
I remember a couple years ago we went to Reno. We got off the plane and he was like, I need to go to the smoke shop. I need to go to the dispensary. I need to go. And I'm like, why? It's like, you're really fiending that bad, dude? He was like, I gotta go. And I said, okay. So it was like 1:00 in the morning. We're walking around Reno, Nevada. And I'm like, never in my wildest dreams did I think walking around 1:00 in the morning in Reno was a good idea.
Yeah, usually that doesn't end well.
You know, no, it ended well. I mean, he got what he needed. We got back to the room and we both fell asleep. And I think we fell asleep and both slept until like 6:30, 7:00 in the morning, because neither one of us could sleep, because back home it was already 9, 10 o'clock.
I have such a hard time sleeping when I'm getting ready for the tournament I've already traveled for.
So, funny fact about Joel, when we go to Reno, we have to go there on Tuesday because he needs at least 2 days to catch up on sleep.
Reno time.
So he's literally like, whenever we go. And when we went, the one year we flew together. We were sitting in Denver airport, and I'll never forget it. He looked at me and he goes, I'm ready for bed. I'm like, dude, we still got like another 2.5 hours of flight time coming up. And he was like, no way. And I said, yeah. And then he started talking. He was like, I'm going to sleep on the plane. I'm going to sleep on the plane. I was like, all right, cool. And then he met some girl on the plane and was talking to her the whole time. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, what do I say? What do I do? And we got off the plane and he was like, I was really digging her. He's like, I was really, really enjoyed talking to her. And I'm like, well, call her. You got her number. I'm like, you guys exchanged numbers. And she didn't call him back the whole time we were there.
Oh no.
Yeah, he did. He did get her number, but she never like replied back. I don't know if she ever did, but
Is it actually
She
her
was-
number?
they were two like literally peas in a pod. They were like, he was finishing her sentences, she was finishing his sentences. They hit it off just like. And I was like, man, this guy's gonna find somebody in Reno, and he's gonna move to Reno, and he hates Reno. And
I, like you were like watching like the love connection happening.
oh, it was. I was on the plane trying to sleep, and this man's like connecting with this girl. I'm like, come on, dude.
The number to the
but-
rejection
But
hotline.
the thing is, like, if you get me and Joel, if you get me and Joel on the plane, we're literally making everybody on the plane laugh.
All right, just gonna throw this out here. An idea. The Joel, you guys have to do like a love connection, like video collaboration.
Oh, you.
Old school love connection collaboration.
Oh, jeez.
I know
If you
I
get-
am, Joel. Love you too.
If you
Oh,
got
Lord.
if you could actually be in a room, just me and Joel, you would see that we probably lose weight because we're laughing so much and we're just like dying. He at one point when he ran the shop in New Jersey, I probably never laughed so hard in my life before, because there was a guy that constantly walked up to the window. Now the Masters is going on. We're right in the middle of qualifying, and I think it was like the B squad was out on the lanes. This guy kept walking up to the window and like sticking his face on the window and like moving his head around, looking at the bowling balls and everything. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Joel yells, "Get your goddamn face off the window, you window licker!" And we all died laughing. And I'm looking at Joel, And I'm like, where does this stuff come from? He goes, I don't know. He goes, it just comes off the tip of the tongue. I just roll it off the tip of the tongue.
Intrusive thoughts, man.
He
They win the day.
he's the reason why I got signed by Vice. Because I had turbo thumbs in my bowling ball, and one of them broke. And the rep came in, and Joel was like, "Hey, can I get a thumb from my brother who's bowling? I just met this kid like 4 days ago. He's calling me his brother." And the rep's like, "No." And Joel's like, "Seriously?" He's like, "I don't have that many out there." And Joel's like, "Seriously?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we found something to make it. He did something to make it work. Got the thumb to work, and then Cecil came in, and we were talking about it, and Joel was talking about how bogus it was, and Cecil was like, "Well, if you weren't on staff with Turbo," he's like, "I'd sign you to Vice right now." And I'm like, "I'm not on staff with Turbo." And he's like, "Well, then why do you got the patch on your jersey?" I go, "I don't know. They just put it on there." And he goes, because it was one of those Jazzy Apes jerseys.
Yeah,
And I was like, it's on there. And he goes, "1 second." And he walked out of the thing, and Joel's like, "You going to get my brother a contract?" And Cecil goes, "Yep." And Cecil came in and handed me a contract, and he looked at me and he goes, "If you want," he goes, "I'll spend all night changing your bowling balls over to Vice." He goes, "Or we could wait until after the Masters and you could change them at home." And I was like, let's wait until after the Masters, because what I have right now is I'm comfortable.
Right.
And he's
Right,
like,
right.
"No problem." And when I left, that man gave me so many IT bottoms, the ball its and everything. He's like, "Go change everything over to its." And that's where I got signed by Vice.
That's awesome.
Jason, you don't want me to have a body camera on when I'm around Joel. That's too much.
Bad idea.
That's a very bad idea. Some of the stuff we talk about is just off the wall. We talk about one thing one time, and then all of a sudden the subject switches, and we're talking about something else.
It's the best idea.
We could see a baby Joel and a baby Mars.
Oh yeah, well,
Dude,
if I was to have another kid, I'd probably want to name it.
I'll tell you what, we're probably going to burn more calories laughing at this TikTok takeover than anything else, because Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's fought me for so many years trying to get me to throw Storm, and then when I finally told him that it was happening, I think he cried for about 5 minutes. He's like, "I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you."
Oh, am I shocked? No.
Yeah, him and Tim Mack and Chris Schlemmer. They were like the biggest chasers of getting me to throw Storm.
Yeah,
Schlemmer. When I had it was like 2-3 years ago. One of the reps came to me from Storm, and he was like, "We'll offer you a contract." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a loyal person. I'm staying with DV8 until they don't want me anymore." And I told Schlemmer about it, and he was like, if you wait more than 5 minutes after deciding not to resign or they don't sign you," he goes, I'm gonna beat your ass. And I was like, "Okay, no problem." I'm like, I'll let you know." And so I called him and I let him know, and Schlem was like, "You're serious?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm not resigning." And he was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, if you ever need anything, you let me know." I said, "Okay." And I want to say it was like 4 days later, my wife sends me a Snapchat, and she's like, "There's a storm brewing." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? The sun's shining." I'm like, "There's no storm coming." And she sends me a picture of 6 Storm bowling balls sitting on my porch. I'm like, "Where the hell did those come from?" And she was like, "You didn't order them?" I'm like, "No." So then I called Schlemmer up, and I was like, "Did you send me bowling balls?" And he goes, "Yep." He's like, "I sent you some balls." He goes, I said, "Well, how much do I owe you?" He goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "What you do for the bowling community and what you do for everybody else," he goes, "You earned it." He's like, "Don't even worry about paying me for them."
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So there's a reason why they call Storm the Bowlers Company, because they really do care about bowlers. They do care about the community. They do care about, not just your professional bowlers, but they care about everybody. And I'm not saying Brunswick doesn't care about their professional bowlers. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about Brunswick. Brunswick did good by me, for years, and they did a lot of good things. And we didn't end on the best of terms, but I tried to do everything professionally, and I won't sit there and bash them. And the people there, Brunswick people, are really good people. Chuck Gardner is probably one of the best people that you could ever come across.
Oh, there we go. Whew, that scared me a second. I hit one button too many times and it's like end live. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. Oh, so what was the first storm ball you punched?
When I left Deviate,
Yeah.
hell, I don't even remember. Oh, Harsh Reality.
It's not a bad start.
And the best part was, everything went down with Brunswick. I ended up not being on staff for them. The first tournament I showed up with a storm ball, somebody looked at me and goes, okay, this is not fair. And I was like, what's not fair? And they're like, you throwing storm. That's just not fair. And I actually ran the field over. And then I bowled. My first big tournament was the Illinois Masters. And Illinois Masters has become one of those tournaments that it's open to everybody. Doesn't matter if you're an Illinois resident. You could be Washington resident. You can come bowl it. But I went to that tournament. I had a mixed bag. And the first ball I brought out of my bag was a GB5. And I threw that, the Harsh Reality, and Black Widow. And I went 327 over for 6 games. The next closest person to me in second place was 87 over.
Oh, look at that. We were talking about this earlier. Nathan Flacker just got home from Adult Youth League.
It's one of the best leagues you could ever bowl. Be honest.
He's a Missouri guy. He's in the Branson area.
Oh, okay. I want to go to that Springfield doubles that's put on by Jessica Burgess and Kevin Williams and all them, but I'd have to drive like 8 hours just to get there, and I don't have time.
I would say
off
me
to
and
work
Thacker
anymore.
were talking about that this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, the 10K doubles.
Oh, lost my earpiece. Hang on a second.
There. Oh, there we go.
There we
I'm
go.
back.
We're good.
But yeah, I want to bowl the 10K doubles at least once. I'm actually going. I got asked to bowl the Swiss Trios tournament down in Wichita, I think it is.
That was one of the stingers as a Missouri resident when we lost Kevin Williams to Sacramento, California.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a friend, Deanna. She moved out there, and she was like, hey, she goes, I got one of your friends out here. And I'm like, who? And she sent me a picture of him. I was like, that's one cool dude. He got some good music, too.
Yeah, he's a very underrated musician.
Yeah.
And that's the entire reason he went to California. He's like, hey, I get greater music exposure out here. I can bowl anywhere.
Yeah. Another person I like bowling with is Cam Crow.
Cam, yeah.
Yeah, I got some stories about him, but I don't know if those are TikTok appropriate.
That'll have to be an After Dark segment.
Wow, I can tell you the one. He came to bowl one of my King of the Hill events, and this is the one we joke about so much. And he'd probably laugh his butt off if he was watching. But he was bowling one of my King of the Hills, and I put out 35-foot Broadway or Boardwalk, one of the two. And he was like, oh, I'm going to come out there. I'm a bowl good and this and that. And I'm like, okay. And first game, he shoots like 160. And there's 4 games of qualifying. And he shoots 160, and he was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And I said, Cam, I said, you need boobies in your life. And he goes, yeah, I do. And I said, hang on a second. I grabbed my phone, and I pulled up pictures off the internet. And I started showing him pictures and stuff. And that man proceeded to average 274 for the next 3 games of qualifying. And then he shot I think his low game was like 268 in match play. And he ended up winning the tournament. And I was like, is that all it took? And he was like, yep. Yep, that's all it took. So when he's bowling out on tour, if he's having a bad squad, I'll send him a text message and be like, do I have to do that thing that I did at the one tournament?
Nathan, if you're talking about row bars, he was at Southside Doubles Bowl in my block, and I did not realize Spencer was that short.
Oh, yeah. He is short, but it amazes me on how close to the ground he gets with his swing. And
Okay, Daddy, stop hitting me.
Just
Well, dude, and
He's on it.
because we were bowling on the burn at Southside Doubles,
Mhm.
and he's about 4 pairs away from me. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a ball loft about half the lane, and I look over, and Spencer's standing at the foul line. I'm like,
yeah,
"Ooh, I didn't know he had that in his game."
yeah. He's a good kid, man. The kid's got unbelievable talent. I just don't like that he calls me Mr. Mars.
Oh God.
Yeah, he go. How's it going, Mr. Mars? It's like, dude, stop. Don't. That's my father. That's not me.
Damn.
All right, yeah, I was gonna say it's getting to be about that time. Unfortunately, we could sit here for
Yeah,
freaking all
I
night
can
if
sit
we
here.
wanted to.
I can stay here for hours. I enjoy talking bowling. I enjoy telling people stories, and
Well, and that was the entire thing when Pickles said, "Hey, I'm bringing JBM." I'm like, "Oh, the stories.
you know
The
funny
stories
thing
are
though
going to be the highlight of the entire show."
my middle name is not Bartholomew. That's something Joel gave me. So every
That does not surprise me,
he
Mr.
calls me
Robert Duncan Smith.
he calls me Gerald Bartholomew Mars. So real quick, I can tell you this one story. First time my wife met Joel, we were in Vegas bowling nationals, and I told my wife, I said, you'll meet Joel and this and that. And she's like, great, can't wait to meet him and this and that. If you've ever been to South Point, you know where the escalators are going to the bowling center, not the stadium, but the bowling center.
Yep.
We were at registration desk. Joel was at the escalators for the bowling center, and I hear him go, "Big broccoli, bro." And I was like, what the hell? And my wife looked at me and she goes, what the hell was that? And I went, Joel.
Joel.
And he tackles me
What?
at the registration
What'd
desk.
Joel say?
I'm not talking like just grabs me and pulls me to the ground. I'm talking full out football, arms around, tackles me, gets me to the
Goldberg
ground.
spear.
And the lady at the registration desk goes, do I need to call security? And my wife's looking at her going, I don't know. It was great. My wife was like, she didn't know what to do. She was like, I didn't know if I should, like defend you or I was like, no, that's Joel.
The guy with the personal bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he does.
But yeah, it was so funny that when he went on his rant about about Rob Smith, and he's like, "I'm putting him on the list, Mr. Robert Duncan Smith." He's like, "I don't even know if that's your middle name, but I'm putting it down."
He gives everybody middle names. It's funny. Yeah. Good times.
All right, well, we're pushing the 2-hour mark, dude. It was an absolute pleasure. You're definitely on our high list for a comeback show because I don't think we've even started scratching the surface yet.
If you have me back on, though, you got to have Joel on.
Yeah,
Don't you dare threaten us with a good time.
I'll
You want
definitely
to talk about
work on
laughs.
a collab episode for that for sure.
Yeah. I might have to go to the car and sit in the car because the wife's upstairs trying to sleep, and I'm probably keeping her up.
I was at this point, Joel's got to be like an unofficial BHB member as many times as he's popped up on the show.
Yeah, he's one of my brothers, man. He's one of the people that I can depend on. And when I'm in my depressed modes and when my mom passed away, he made sure to keep up with me and make sure everything was good.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so do we have any closing statements for Jerry, boys?
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing. Really
problem.
appreciate it. It's good to get around people who are further in the game and learn from some of their small talk, as you call it, or their stories. It's always nice, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I definitely will start looking at scheduling something to have a connection with you and Mr.
Mr. Hoodie Bowler.
We'll collab on that.
Mr. Dynamics now because he dropped the hoodie bowler tag.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, well, I'm going to close it out the way I always close it out.
Well, just real quick here, June 28th and 29th, I'm hosting the tournament, Chicagoland Open. Saturday we do
Okay.
singles. 29th would be the doubles. You know, if anybody watching wants to come out and bowl, just get a message to me and let me know. Shout out to my sponsors, Storm, Vice, Kulik, Genesis, my wife, and my sponsor. And Brooke and Brody. And two cool people. Brody's on here. I bowl with them a lot.
All right. Well, we greatly. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, and I had a Brit too.
Oh, I got you. All right. So I always end it with the same tagline. There is no last time. So until the next time, we'll catch you guys on the flip.
Have a good one.